Peter Obi just dropped a bombshell at a global press conference, directly calling out President Tinubu with these fiery words, "Sit down and work." The Labour Party leader didn't hold back, slamming the government over Nigeria's economic collapse, insecurity, and leadership failure. But why is Obi going this hard? Is this a 2027 election warning? And how will Tinubu's camp respond? We've got the unfiltered breakdown.
Fellow Nigerians, Happy New Year. As we begin the new year 2025, it has become imperative for me to speak to you as a Nigerian interested in the progress of the country. The political, economic, and security situation of our country is worsening daily, despite contrary positions and claims by the government of improvement in all spheres of human endeavor. Our national challenges are visibly worsening. Our nation and its fortunes are in clear reverse. The indices are clearly indicative of our decline. Thus, Nigeria remains one of the poverty capitals of the world, with over 100 million in extreme poverty and more than 150 million in multi-dimensional poverty. The situation has deteriorated significantly in the past 18 months under the current administration. As a nation, we are falling from being the highest GDP in Africa in 2014 at $574 billion and per capita of about $3,500 to now ranking the fourth with a GDP less than 50% of what we were a decade ago, about 200 billion, with per capita less than a third, about 1,000. Our nation remains one of the most insecure and least peaceful in the world today, with countless communities and families displaced from their homes and now living in IDP camps. According to the Global Peace Index report, Nigeria ranks 143 out of 163 countries in terms of peacefulness, an indicative of high level of distress. Food insecurity has become a national norm, making Nigeria one of the hungriest countries of the world. Gainfully employed and middle-income Nigerians now spend nearly their entire income on feeding, with some resorting to borrowing to eat, just to eat. For those living on margins, low-income earners and unemployed, the situation is even more dire. The newly approved minimum wage of 70,000 cannot afford a bag of rice or even half bag of beans. As a result, many Nigerians go to bed hungry, while a significant number now rely on palliatives and charitable support. Tragically, this has recently led to several avoidable deaths. Nigeria in 2024 Hunger Index is ranked 110 out of 127 countries measured, reflecting a critical level of hunger and food insecurity. We have earned the dubious distinction of being one of the countries with the largest number of people without access to electricity. In 2024, despite the abysmal and unacceptable power generation and distribution, the frequency of national grid collapse increased significantly. The frequency of national grid collapse increased, where we have almost 12 times in 12 months. As a result, we are now mockingly referred as a generator country. This persistent lack of adequate energy supply continues to hinder our national development. Corruption, official efficiency, fiscal profligacy, and the mismanagement of public resources continue to rise astronomically in our country, spreading across all spheres of government. Similarly, nepotism and disregard for the Constitution, rule of law, and due process have become the norm. Our national debt has risen astronomically from approximately 15 trillion in 2015 to over 100 trillion today. This sharp increase has occurred within the last 18 months under the current administration. Ironically, these borrowings are largely allocated to non-generative programs and projects, leaving little to tangible development assets. Inflation remains an all-time high, businesses are collapsing, and manufacturing companies are barely surviving, further contributing to already high unemployment rates. We hold periodic elections that are no longer genuine. Our electoral process are visibly flawed, lacking transparency and credibility. Although Nigeria is a democratic country, the electoral process falls far below acceptable standards, with the people's vote often not counted. Suggestions on the way forward. From all indication, Nigeria urgently needs selfless and exemplary leadership across the three arms and tiers of government. However, this much-needed exemplary leadership must begin from the top. Since the ultimate responsibility lies with the president, I will direct my attention to him. Mr. President, present-day Nigeria aligns closely with Dr. Martin Luther King's powerful words. We are now confronted with fierce urgency of now. This is no time for apathy or complacency. This is time for vigorous and positive actions. Because we all love Nigeria and desire its prosperity, I would like to suggest some actions I will have personally approached differently. It is time to confront our national problems boldly, decisively, with a sense of urgency, and I suggest as follows. Commence a visible and verifiable reduction in cost of governance to be able to allocate much-needed resources to critical areas of development such as security, health, education, and poverty alleviation. Aggressively and visible attention should be given to combating corruption effectively. While addressing past corrupt practices, we must ensure proper investigations and recoveries are related to missing funds or their sources. The focus should be on eliminating current and future official malfeasance through increased transparency and accountability in public procurement and contract awards, as well as thorough monitoring of execution of projects to ensure that limited resources are efficiently utilized and applied productively. All future borrowings must be tied to regenerative investment and visible, productive assets that will benefit the nation. This will ensure both productivity and the ability to service and amortize such loans, rather than continue the current practice of accumulating massive debt with no tangible returns, which places undue strain on future development revenues. Mr. President, out of approximately 580 days you have been in office, it is reported that you have spent about 30% or around 180 days on more than 30 publicly recorded trips overseas. My appeal is that you dedicate 20% of 2025, roughly 72 days, to visit each of the 36 states for 2 days each. As a president, such visit will give you opportunity to better understand their economic and security situations across the country. Further, it is time you visit our national hospitals and health facilities. You may consider, for example, that your next medical examination be conducted in one of our national hospitals or regional federal medical centers, such as FMC in Sokoto, Birnin Kebbi, Calabar, Umuahia, Akure, among others. This will allow you to assess the state of healthcare facilities available to Nigerians. It will also help you to understand the condition of our hospitals and clinics, enabling you to make informed decisions on how to upgrade and make them efficient. Endeavor to travel by road to observe the conditions of most highways. You can take short trips, for example, from Calabar in Cross River State to Uyo in Akwa Ibom, a distance of less than 100 kilometers, or from Benin in Edo to Warri in Delta. I recall taking President Obasanjo on a trip from Awka to Onitsha on the federal highway when I was governor of Anambra State. That journey prompted him to immediately approve reconstruction of parts of the road by Anambra State with subsequent reimbursement by the federal government. Such actions are immensely valuable. Make both impromptu and planned visits to our tertiary institutions where our children and future leaders are being trained. This is essential to familiarize yourself with the available infrastructure, facilities, and amenities. These visits will provide valuable insights into whether the resources of the Tertiary Education Trust Fund are being utilized optimally, and what is needed to sustain education is being implemented. I recall President Shagari visiting University of Nigeria in Nsukka when I was a student there and telling us, I've seen the facilities myself, and I assure you of my intervention. Institutional facilities improved significantly thereafter. As Commander-in-Chief, visit our military formations and security agencies, especially during their field operations, and provide them with morale-boosting assurances and support for optimal efficiency. Reiterate that they and their families will always be taken care of. Mr. President, many Nigerians are refugees and exiles in their own country. Visit the IDP camps and assure Nigerians that they will soon be returned to their communities, that they are working hard to restore peace and normalcy in different parts of the country. Mr. President, you are no longer governor of Lagos State. You are now the president of Nigeria. Therefore, consider spending your holidays in different parts of the country. Let your next Salah, Easter, or Christmas holidays be spent in Yola, in Sokoto, Jos, Akure, Yanegua, Abakaleke, among others. The single most challenging test you face is ensuring the future of elections are credible and truly reflect the will of the people. Finally, Mr. President, Nigerians need to hear from you directly, not through your proxies. Quarterly update on what you are doing to improve the situation is crucial. God bless you. God bless Nigeria. Thank you. This is not the first time he's coming out with such optimism. The reality of it is that while we do not expect 100% result, we want to see 100% effort. It's something you can say, for example, we're reducing cost of governance. People need to see it. People need to feel it. You know, I'll wait and see how the inflation will come down from 34 to 15%. Because the main driver of inflation, as you know, is food. On the sea rice, coming down from 100 to about 50. Beans, coming down, all coming down below the minimum wage. Then we can begin to say, yes. So it is not something you say. It is what you do and what people feel. Governance is about the feeling of the people, not you.
Another question, please. Thank you very much. That's very first. The first question is on this trip, nationwide trip. Knowing what the presidency stands for in Nigeria, don't you think Nigerians will be further inconvenienced by the president traveling to states where the road will be locked for hours even before the president comes, as to remain locked hours after he must have left a particular situation? And considering the amount of resources they will still expend on such visits, either by air or by road, how do you see an alternative to mitigate the suffering of Nigerians by just blockage and the money that's going to be spent? That's the first aspect.
I'm sure that what is going to be spent will be far less than what he spends to go overseas. It will be far less. And I can assure you that visiting the entire Nigeria will not cost up to a third of what he has spent in these 30 trips, just visiting Nigeria. And it is critical that he goes to, as for blocking the road and everything, I would rather he blocks everywhere in my state and stay there for 2 days, because he will feel what we are feeling. So it's better he goes to Benue, go to Zamfara and block it, but he's there so he can feel what the average person in Zamfara is feeling. As the president of a country, you must visit the place.
Yes, the second aspect is 2027. Is that realistic? All of them on this major issue.
For me, what is important now is about Nigeria today. We are so occupied about election, just like we're so occupied about power capture, that we refuse to deal with our issue. We have people who are dying because of a bags of rice, half bag of beans. People are dying. We've just lost several people. I was in IDP camp yesterday. I was in hospital yesterday, where we don't have basic things. And I'm talking about 2027. That's not what I'm preoccupied with. I'm not preoccupied by what I said, the urgency of today. Let people put food on their table. Let there be medical care in our primary health care.
Okay, lastly, His Excellency, barely 1 year after the 2023 elections, the third force is dismantled, and there is no effective governance without opposition, a strong opposition in the country. And with the way things are going, do you think Nigeria is having a headway? And how do you think any person from the opposition, even where you have the brain, the intellectual, the ability, even in your cupboard, to play out all the things in government, how can you emerge as a leader of the country? Secondly, the arrest of Tinubu. What does this have to do with our democracy? Don't you think it will affect the democracy in Nigeria?
Well, I want us to sit down one of these days and talk about the opposition and how the opposition will be effective. Our democracy is faulty. It wasn't designed to support the opposition. Oppositions here are actually in difficulty. If I tell you what I face, what I go through, what my family go through, you wouldn't even believe I will still be standing and going around this country. But I've made up my mind that if this is the end, so be it. Because we can't allow the country. It is difficult to be in opposition in this country. Extremely difficult. Because everything is against you. People don't even want to see you. They don't even want to talk to you. I see colleagues that greet them at the airport, they don't even want to reply because they feel they don't want the government of the day to see you or see them greeting you. Your businesses, everything you're involved is being dismantled. That is not a country. We need to show more commitment to the future of our country. None of us is going to live here forever. So we must build a better society for our children. And to build it, some of us will take the risk. That is the part of what Dele and Co. also going through. And not just him, every person, even the oppositions, at local government level, at state level, everywhere, are going through that. So for me, we are actually doing a lot if we are doing everything on our own.
All right, lastly, for me, Your Excellency, those two things. We've seen you and like former Vice President Tinubu going around having a series of meetings. People are optimistic that maybe something in form of a merger or so could come out of this. And then, lastly, President Tinubu insists that his tax reforms must go on, and the tax reform bills are here to stay in his last presidential media chat. Despite that, governors are saying that there should be more consultation and other leaders of the country, while former Senate President is saying that there's serious hunger, and Lume is saying that some traditional rulers should not just take the content of the tax reform bills just by the face value. What would you advise on this?
Well, on issue of tax, there's a lot of stories. I've said it, everybody knows my stand on it. There should be very wide and detailed consultation. It should be widely and publicly debated. Government have consistently maintained that our tax to GDP, tax to this is very low. You've seen it every day. And I said it's wrong. Tax is a function of productivity. The country is unproductive. So are you going to tax 100 million Nigerians that are living in extreme poverty? Are you going to tax those people I saw in IDP camps yesterday? Are you going to tax the factories that are shut down in Kano? Go to Bompai, go to Shradan 1, Shradan 2. Where are you going to tax? Tax is a function of productivity. When the country is productive, people are gainfully employed, then you can tax them. And we can generate more tax. What we need now is to reflect the country, make it productive, and then we can talk about generating more revenue. Let me assure you, what is on the table now is that everybody who means well should come together to get the country to work. There's a lot of, call it, lies. There's a lot of propaganda. There's a lot of, trying to, bamboozle the people going on here and there, which has to stop. Let's build this country. Let me say it again. None of us is going to be here forever. Those who did it yesterday are no longer here. But if you look at the country, it's collapsing every day. I saw 1,500 kids yesterday, not in school. And I did ask 3 of them, do you want to go to school? They say yes. What are we doing?
So here's the big question. Is Peter Obi's bold call-out a wake-up call for Tinubu's administration or just 2027 campaign strategy? Drop your thoughts below and smash that like button, share to trend this nationwide, and subscribe.